Hey guys, what's going on? It's DBitchTheFish, and today I'm going to show you how to make a 4x4 piston door. First, we're going to start with the opening sequence, which you can initiate with this button, and then the closing sequence, which you can initiate with this pressure plate. And it works vice versa. Opening, and closing. Okay, so now we're going to go on to how it works. This right here is a basic double piston attractor. As you can see, it pushes and pulls the block using the old 0, 4, 2 method. 0 ticks, 4 ticks, and 2 ticks on the repeaters. But the problem with this one is it doesn't spit out the block because you need a 1 tick pulse to do that. If you look at this piston setup, which I made using 5 pistons and 1 observer, it spits out the block because the observer gives a 1 tick pulse, allowing both pistons to split out their blocks. And yeah, both pistons, not just one piston, which was the main difference between the two. If we press the button again, it just picks the blocks back and it does spit them out. But the good thing about this observer is you can put a torch in front of it and run a repeater and a lever, so that way it doesn't have to just be a double piston retractor. It can also be a regular piston, which is what we needed for the closing of the 4x4 piston door. We have the double retraction for the opening, and we have the regular for the closing. Now over here we have a redstone tower, is what I call them. It pretty much works with the power going into that block, which means there's no redstone going into that block, which means that block can go into that block. It's pretty much self-explanatory. You flick this, all the polarities reverse. Very simple. I actually used this multiple times in the final design, I think 3 times while I was making it. And it's much more efficient instead of just making a redstone staircase. This is a locking mechanism looking almost monostable circuit. When this block is up, the redstone signal can go into the repeater. This is what I used for the locking mechanism of the piston door. When the block is up, the rest of the signal goes through. When the block is down, the rest of the signal doesn't go through and the piston door won't open. Now come over here. This is what I use for a T flip-flop. The T flip-flop turns a regular button press, which is 10 ticks long, a full second long, into a sustaining redstone pulse like a lever. Right? As you can see, press the button, it only is a 10 tick pulse. So first you want to start with a dropper facing this way, and then you're going to place a dropper facing up, then place a dropper facing down onto that one, and then place a hopper going into the dropper you just placed. Now you're going to press a button on the face of this dropper here, and a comparator running out of it, right there. And you're going to want to put a repeater after that because the comparator is only going to have 1 or 2 ticks of pulse. Now you're going to place a random item inside the dropper with the button, and as you see, it's going to give a pulse off because the comparator is going to see that there's an item in there, and it's going to run through these blocks so we can see it come over here. But when we press this button, the item gets moved up to this dropper, and there's no redstone signal. This turns the button press into a sustaining redstone source, which I used twice throughout the whole build. This right here is a working monostable circuit, just a regular monostable circuit. It turns a redstone pulse into a 1 tick pulse, just like an observer does. So as you can see, you can also use redstone dust. You don't have to use a repeater. The redstone pulse turns it from a 1 second long to a 1/10 of a second long pulse. And the repeater is able to get that signal because the redstone dust is soft powering it, but you can also hard power it with a repeater and it will still work. As long as you have a repeater taking the output, it'll always work. Alright, now we're going to move on to how I made the pistons not only pulse once but pulse twice, because you need a pulse to run through the pistons twice, because the pistons need to push the blocks twice. Here's how I did it. I pretty much just ran repeaters off of that redstone pulse, and then more repeaters with a giant delay. So as you can see, the pistons get a pulse right away, and then they get another time pulse, which I used down here. It's just a more messier version. It comes down like that. And then, okay, so now I'm gonna go into how I got the double piston retraction only on the opening sequence and not on the closing sequence, because you don't want the double piston retraction on both, or it'll just mess up the whole system. So this block right here allows the redstone signal to be hard powered into the block, which then comes up here and activates the double piston circuit. But without a block there, the redstone signal can't run through and hard power it, and the redstone repeater can't take a signal from the block. So pretty much how I got that to work was I added another T flip-flop circuit right here. So not only when you press the button does it work all that redstone, but it comes down here and it activates this T flip-flop circuit, which toggles this piston on and off, which changes the pulse in from the button, which is a 10 tick pulse, into a normal pulse that you would get from a lever. Yeah, so that's pretty much how I got the double piston retraction only on one side and not the other side. So yeah, that has been my 4x4 piston my 4x4 piston door and how it works. Thank you for watching. If you did, please subscribe, drop a like.